Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the new NFL season. Each week I'll be doing one of these recaps just to go over some of the biggest winners and losers, a little bit of NFL trivia, and highlighting obviously my Philadelphia Eagles going into the next week. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the biggest winners and losers from week one of the NFL season. Starting off, the biggest winner, Tyreek Hill. I mean, that game between the Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Chargers was incredible. It was the best game of the week. Um, and Tyreek Hill showed once again why he is the best NFL wide receiver. He had 11 receptions for 215 yards and two touchdowns. Obviously, he had that touchdown at the end there um, that put the Dolphins up. Like I said, he is the best wide receiver in the NFL. I know Justin Jefferson is amazing. Jamar Chase is awesome. Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams. But time and time again, we talk about Tyreek Hill being a difference maker on the field. And before the season started, he talked about getting 2,000 yards. After week one, he put himself in very good position to accomplish that goal. Okay, the biggest loser of week one, the New York Giants. The Cowboys absolutely dominated the Giants. They beat them 40-0. And I got to be honest, being a huge fantasy football fan, I was facing Saquon Barkley. I thought Barkley was going to do well against the Cowboys, but he only got about 8 points. And watching that game, the Cowboys defense was just on a different level. I know they have some talented players, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, DeMarcus Lawrence. They got some really, really good players. And the Giants just did not show up at all in prime time. In addition, a quick note, Dak Prescott absolutely owns the New York Giants throughout his career. It was the 11th straight win that Dak Prescott has had against the New York Giants. 11 straight. Think about that. The Giants and the Cowboys will face off again, but if history shows, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are going to beat him again. All right, we got two more winners and losers moving forward. Another big winner from week one, Jordan Love, the Green Bay Packers. It was his first start post the Aaron Rodgers era, and he played really well. He definitely outplayed Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is going to be a great quarterback in this league for many years to come. I think he's going to lead the Bears to the playoffs numerous times. But Jordan Love played better than him on Sunday. Jordan Love threw for 3 touchdowns. Obviously, Aaron Jones was a big factor. He had 2 touchdowns. But this Packers team looks good. I know the Bears had a lot of hype coming into the season. They traded for DJ Moore. Justin Fields has definitely improved. But this Packers team looks solid. It's going to be interesting to see how they hold up moving forward. But it was the Packers' 9th straight win against the Bears. So similar to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys versus the Giants, the Packers, they own the Chicago Bears. And then we'll go over one more loser of week one. And sticking with another NFL team, the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know what happened that game, but they really struggled on offense. They only scored 3 points. And I know Burrow was hurt the entire preseason. Joe Burrow went down with that ankle injury early on. But I'm not concerned about the Bengals at all. They're still my pick to make it to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. The Bengals started out slow last year. They started out slow again this year. They're just too talented on offense with Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow to not be a good team this year. And like I said, I still have them making the Super Bowl. It was a rough week one for them, but I think moving forward, they're going to be okay. All right, so on these shows, I'm going to do a 10-minute trivia session where, it might not take 10 minutes, but quick trivia questions, things that I pick up from the games over the weekend, and then these statistics I want to pass along to you guys to see if you know the answer. So sticking with the game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. It was the Cleveland Browns' first week one win at home since 2004. All right, so the Cleveland Browns secured their first week one win at home since 2004. Who was the QB when they won that game. All right, so we're going way back. Who was the QB when the Cleveland Browns won at home in 2004 in week 1? Give you guys a minute to think on that, but I'll repeat the question. The Cleveland Browns secured their first week 1 win at home since 2004. Who was their QB when they won? All right, we're moving on to the second question. We're going to the game of the week, the Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Chargers. Tua Tagovailoa threw 466 passing yards in the Dolphins' win over the Chargers. It is the third most in a week 1 game in the Super Bowl era. Who holds the record for the most passing yards in a week 1 game in the Super Bowl era? Bonus points if you can get the 2 quarterbacks that are ahead of Tua. But once again, I'll repeat the question. Tua threw for 466 passing yards in the Dolphins' win over the Los Angeles Chargers. It was the third most during the Super Bowl era. Who holds the record for most passing yards in a week 1 game during the Super Bowl era? All right. Moving on to the third question. Sticking with the same game, though. Tyreek Hill had 215 receiving yards in the week 1 win. It was the second most in a week 1 game during the Super Bowl era. Who holds the record for most receiving yards in a week 1 game in the Super Bowl era? All right, this is a tough question. So this is not all time. This is just during the Super Bowl era. Tyreek Hill led with 200. Oh, my bad. Tyreek Hill had 215. Wait a minute. Tyreek Hill had 215 receiving yards in the week 1 win. It was the second most in a week 1 game during the Super Bowl era. Who holds the record for the most receiving yards in a week 1 game during the Super Bowl era? All right, moving along to another great wide receiver in the NFL. Justin Jefferson became the first wide receiver to have 150 plus receiving yards in consecutive season openers since the 1980s. Who was the last wide receiver to accomplish this feat? All right, so in order to get this goal, you have to, in one season opener, catch 150 receiving yards, and then in the next year, in the next season opener, get another 150 receiving yards. I'll repeat the question. On Sunday, Justin Jefferson became the first wide receiver to have 150 plus receiving yards in consecutive season openers since the 1980s. Who was the last wide receiver to accomplish this feat? All right, and for our fifth and final question of this 10-minute trivia session, it's going to be about a rookie quarterback. Although losing 25-9 to the Baltimore Ravens, C.J. Stroud became the first player since 1991 to catch his first career pass attempt. Who was the last player to do this? All right, once again, C.J. Stroud became the first player since 1991 to catch his first career pass attempt. Who was the last player to do this? All right, so as I said earlier, once a week after these NFL recaps, I will do a 10-minute trivia session. I'll ask you guys about 4 to 5 trivia questions, and you can comment your answer below. You can give me suggestions for trivia questions moving forward, but trivia has always been a big thing with me growing up, loving sports, watching sports, listening to the commentators and the announcers talking about the different statistics and everything that goes into a game. And yeah, it's something that we're going to be doing on this show moving forward, and I think it's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. And now for our final segment of today's show, we're going to do the Eagles versus Patriots. As you guys know, I'm a huge Eagles fan. Diehard Eagles fan. I've loved them ever since I was a little kid, and we'll be talking about the Eagles a lot on this show. I'm going to, talk about all the different NFL games and the different players. I know them well, but the Eagles are definitely going to be the center of these shows. And I have three takeaways from the Eagles game versus the New England Patriots. My first big takeaway was the defense made plays when they had to. Obviously, coming off of last year, the Eagles defense was phenomenal. I think they set a franchise record for the most sacks during the entire season. I mean, players like Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Darius Slay, James Bradbury. We've had a lot of talented players on this Eagles defense for the past couple years. And coming into this season, everybody has the Eagles as the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I have the Eagles as the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I think they're going to beat the Bengals on the biggest stage. But the defense didn't look as sharp versus the Patriots. Obviously, they came out hot with Darius Slay, having the pick six. Jalen Carter was absolutely awesome in his debut. He recorded his first career sack, and it didn't look like the Patriots offensive line had an answer for him at all. But like I said, it wasn't their sharpest performance. It wasn't their best performance, but the defense definitely got the job done when they had to. Obviously, that last drive with Mac Jones and the Patriots, it looked like the Patriots were going to score. It really did. But the defense made a couple big plays. They got in the backfield, and the Eagles, they came away with a win when it didn't look like that they were going to. My second biggest takeaway is the NFL preseason matters. Now, I know injuries are a big concern. You don't want your top athletes, your best stars, to get hurt during a preseason game. That's no fun at all. And, for the past couple of years, it's been this way where NFL teams have rested their starters during the preseason. But it goes to show, once that first week comes in, that's almost like the players' preseason. That's their warm-up. The Bengals did not look good. The Baltimore Ravens didn't look as good as they should. The New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, a lot of these teams that rested their starters, they did not play well. And I still think the Eagles have the best offense. I really do. But they definitely have to get on the same page fast because Jalen Hurts, he's an MVP caliber player. He really is. Dallas Goedert, I think he's a top five tight end in the NFL. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, both of those guys can put up numbers that have them in the top 10 by the end of the season. This offense is very talented. They went out, they made a trade for DeAndre Swift. They have Kenny Gainwell, Rashad Penny. So the faster this team gets on the same page, the better. And I think that preseason would have helped them. Obviously, they did not do that. But this team is too talented to not be putting up points consistently. And I think at times, Jalen Hurts, he had that nice play where he threw that touchdown to Devontae Smith, but the offense didn't look as crisp, didn't look as clean as it did last year. And I think that, this Thursday versus the Vikings, they really got to come out hot for sure. All right. And my final takeaway from the game between the Patriots and the Eagles, it was an ugly but huge win. At the end of the season, we're going to look back on this game and we're going to talk about, how big that victory was. Championship caliber teams win those type of games. It had all the makings of a loss for the Philadelphia Eagles. One, it was Tom Brady's retirement game. Two, it was in New England. It is so hard to win in Foxborough. Three, they were going against the third best team on defense last year. The Patriots have a great defense. Bill Belichick is a phenomenal defensive-minded coach. So, for the Eagles to come in there and beat them on the road, that's a huge week one win. I know it wasn't the best. It wasn't the cleanest performance. The Eagles were not, hitting on all cylinders whatsoever, but they made the plays when they had to. They got the job done. And I'm very excited heading into this game Thursday night at home versus the Vikings. I think it's going to be a great one. Now, before I end off this show, I just want to give you guys my prediction for the Thursday night football matchup. The Vikings are playing the Eagles. The Vikings lost their first game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost 20-17. And obviously, like I just said, the Eagles beat the Patriots. So this is definitely a big game for the Vikings. The Vikings the past couple years have not been good in Philadelphia. They lost last year. We all remember that game in the NFC Championship game, Nick Foles. The Vikings got crushed that night. So I think my prediction actually for this game is Jalen Hurts throws 3 touchdowns. Dallas Goedert comes up big. He scores one of those touchdowns. And Darius Slay shuts down Justin Jefferson. Last year, Jefferson did not have a good game against Darius Slay. Now, the one thing that would not be good, there's rumors that James Bradbury got hurt in week 1 so that he might not play this Thursday night. And if that happens, that's going to be tougher on the Eagles defense because Darius Slay will be covering Justin Jefferson, but the Vikings also have Jordan Addison, who's another talented wide receiver. So that will make things a little bit tough. But all in all, I do think the Eagles will beat the Vikings Thursday night. I think the final score will be Eagles win 31-14. Like I said, the offense did not look sharp against the Patriots, but I think they come out hot. Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns. Dallas Goedert, huge game. And the Eagles get the win 31-14 over the Vikings. I want to thank you guys for tuning into this first episode, this week 1 recap. I really appreciate it. If you like this episode, subscribe for more. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and I'll be posting all my content from this episode on there. So thank you guys again. And yeah, we'll see how the Eagles play against the Vikings tomorrow night, and we'll do one of these episodes later on this week. Have a good one.